a little bit about the PA and Mahmoud Abbas. In trying to delegitimize Hamas, as Israel has claimed at the beginning of this war, has it ironically, in the eyes of many in the Arab and Muslim world, delegitimized the PA and Mahmoud Abbas?
Well, I think he is one of the casualties of this terrible conflict. I mean, the truth is that as the Arab states have been unable to protect the Palestinians, the initiative has gone to radical movements. And what we are seeing and will see, of course, is more radicalization of the region. Now, Israel is not against that. It's tried, indeed, to radicalize the Palestinians. It doesn't like Palestinian moderates because it would have to negotiate with them. Now, this whole campaign has got very little to do, actually, with the rockets, the poor Qassam rockets which Hamas launched. That is just the pretext which Israeli propaganda, as we've heard from Mr. Inbar, alleges. The real aim is to destroy the two-state solution once and for all, to push Gaza into the hands of the Egyptians, rid Israel of that problem, and then, of course, to continue the occupation of and absorption of the West Bank and push what's left of it and its populations into Jordan. Now, that is why, of course, Egypt is aware of this threat. Jordan is aware of this threat. That's why Egypt didn't open the Rafah crossing, and that's why Jordan is now tilting towards Hamas, aware of the threat to it of Israel's policy. Now, what is, of course, required is an immediate ceasefire on both sides, followed by withdrawal of Israel and a lifting of the siege, followed by Palestinian elections to produce a new Palestinian leadership, united leadership, and then, of course, a major effort by the whole international community, America, the EU, the Russians, the United Nations, to rein in Israel and make it see sense and give peace a chance. That's what's required.
Okay.
All this blaming of Hamas is total propaganda.
Okay. Let's go to Mr. Inbar. Interesting that Patrick mentioned the idea of radicalization. Yuri Avneri, a peace activist in Israel, a man who's a bit more dovish than you are, said in an op-ed that this assault on Gaza will, in the future, create Hamas times 1,000. Don't you fear that?
I think Hamas is there to stay. Unfortunately, Hamas is very popular among the Palestinians because they are probably more honest than the Fatah and the Abu Mazen people. And this is precisely why Israel's goal is not to remove Hamas from Gaza. I think we are realistic. I actually agree with Patrick Seale that we are further away from the two-state solution because the Palestinian national movement failed to establish a state. What we see is further fragmentation of the Palestinians.
Do you also agree with him? Do you also agree with him that,
Let me finish,
that you were espousing Israeli propaganda? That's what he also said.
Well, I think this is his own propaganda. I think that is what I'm saying is what most Israeli feel. And actually, as I said before, I think most of the world takes it seriously that Israel is not ready and shouldn't be ready to accept this type of genocidal organization next to its border. Basically, over 1 million Israelis were terrorized for years by the Qassam missiles, and we have every right in the world to defend ourselves.
Okay, Patrick.
And to go back to the two-state solution,
quick response from Patrick Seale.
I think that the two-state solution is indeed further away because the Palestinian national movement is a dysfunctional national movement.
All right, let's get a response from Patrick Seale.
Well, genocidal, he said genocidal. 20 Israelis have been killed in the last 8 years. Several thousand Palestinians have been killed. Over 1,000 just in the last 3 weeks.
What about their ideology?
What is he talking about? The ideology. The truth is that Hamas was becoming more moderate. It was distancing itself from its charter, and that is why Israel attacked. Israel wants to radicalize the Palestinians so it can then say, how can we negotiate with someone who wants to kill us? That is their propaganda line. The truth is they are not ready for serious negotiations. Every Israeli leader since 1948 has tried to avoid negotiations which would involve giving up territory. They want the whole of historic Palestine. That's the trouble.
Let's go to Abdul-Bari Atwan. Abdul-Bari Atwan, we've seen Hugo Chavez and Evo Morales of Venezuela and Bolivia cutting ties with Israel. Is it an embarrassment to the Arab leaders that these two leaders down in South America are taking a stance against Israel, yet the Arab leaders seem in some ways complicit, in some ways just nonchalantly ignoring what Israel is doing?
Of course it is a huge embarrassment. Why Bolivia and Venezuela are cutting relation with Israel. The Arab governments or certain Arab governments are consolidating their relation with Israel. And we see the biggest Arab country, which is Egypt, behaving as a mediator, a neutral mediator between the Israelis and Hamas, which is affront to the Arab leadership. So I think one of the Kuwaiti MPs actually asked to remove the Arab League and to send it to Caracas, because that's a more honorable place for it to be there. And I agree with him. I think it is awful. The Arab reaction, the Arab governmental reaction toward these atrocities in Gaza is shameful. I think the Arabs should stop that, and they should stop this carnage against the Palestinian. Otherwise, they will be seen as a collaborator in the eyes of many people, not only in the Arab world, but in the international community. It is, honestly, I am ashamed to be Arabs now, while those people are very sympathetic and very actually active in trying to stop this war and put pressure on the Israelis, while the Arab government, for example, are trying to soften their position, trying to let the Israeli accomplish their job by ethnic cleansing the Palestinian people in Gaza Strip under the pretext of protecting the Israeli from these primitive, harmless missiles which launched by Hamas.
Gentlemen, it's been a great discussion. I really enjoyed interviewing you three. Patrick Seale in Paris, in Doha, Abdul-Bari Atwan, and in Tel Aviv, who joined us for the second half of the program, Efraim Inbar. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us, gentlemen. And thank you so much, the viewer, for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments, your suggestions, your questions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Inside Story at aljazeera.net is the address. Bye-bye for now.